Rashandapo, or three others. Rashandapo, or three others.
Happy Thursday. Welcome to Thursday morning's Deeper Dive session. We're here, the livest live audience in Tampa Bay is in the building. And we're so glad that you're with us online. Welcome to the Deeper Dive this morning. Hope you're ready. We went for a dive on Tuesday, and I hope you got it and got the opportunity to go back and add it to your notes as we are in this message series soon enough. And I'm looking forward to today's conversation. So glad that you're with us. Shout us out in the chat. Let us know who you are, where you are, and let's get it. Let's get to it. Pastor Brian is in the building. Welcome, sir. And okay, so Thursdays Deeper Dive, I think gives us the opportunity to really mine a point, right? Yeah. To just grab a point and just go deeper in it, right? And I know we have a message on Sunday, yeah, and we're all looking forward and we're stirred up to hear more on Sunday. We ended Tuesday's conversation in a place, and I think that it'll be a good place for us to pick up. And let's see how long we can just mine this point. I want to read a passage of scripture to you, okay? And then we go from there. So I'm going to read it from two different translations. This is Genesis chapter 6, verse 8. Beautiful scripture. It's short, to the point, but it says so much. Genesis chapter 6, verse 8. From the New Living Translation, it says, "But Noah found favor."
Let's go.
"With the Lord," right? In the King James Version, it says, "Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord." And there's so much there. There's so much that's there. But just starting off with that verse and the idea of becoming the qualified person to build.
Yeah, I think there's some awesome things about that, right? It shows, one, that God is watchful of us.
Wow, yeah.
The fact that he found favor shows that God was searching.
That's good.
And searching for those who would be qualified to carry what he wanted to do.
That's good.
And so I think that is one of the most active things that I know I practice in my life. I say it to the staff all the time. We just get to moments and I say, hey, guys, we have to always remember that God is even watching this moment.
Right.
That God is even observing what our affection is right now. Like he's watching our conversation to plan something for his people.
Right.
He's pleased that that's our affection.
Yeah.
And I believe that's exactly where God found Noah. He found favor, which to me shows that God is looking. God is watching.
That's good.
God is searching. And I believe he's doing that same thing today. Today he's looking, searching, seeing who.
That's good. And so, and I think that it's good for just to sit there, just a few more moments, for us to see that as another opportunity in acknowledging God's presence, like God is with us. I know you did you talked a lot about how we can do things, that practical things we can do every day just to like check in and be aware that God is involved and aware and working with us in our everyday walking around life.
Yeah.
One of them is acknowledging that God is aware of the moments that we spend tending to his business.
Yes.
Right? And this is how Noah was found in this moment, in this season where he's surrounded by wickedness, craziness, people falling out, right? And Noah found favor in God's eyes.
So you talk about deeper dive, right? And so I was reading Hebrews 11 again, even as we were just in there preparing, and this popped up to me, right? Which I'll just read the whole thing. By faith, Noah built a ship in the middle of dry land. He was warned about something he couldn't see, right? And acted on what he was told.
That's good.
Right? The result, his whole family was saved, right? This is part I wanted to get to, right? His act of faith, drew a sharp line between the evil of the unbelieving world and the righteousness of the believing world.
That's good.
And what just stuck out to me then was it was an act of faith that drew the line.
That's good.
Many times we think of our behavior. Many times we're thinking of so many other things.
That's good.
But what was what just stuck out to me now? It was an act of faith that drew a line. It was an act of faith that separated who Noah was from everyone else. It was something that he stepped out on, that was unfamiliar, that actually caused the difference. Like it was something that he embraced that no one else could see, that caused the difference. Like I know a lot of times many people are saying like, well, how can I be a person that represents God? How can I represent God well? How can I be that light in the midst of darkness? Well, I'm reading this, digesting and saying, have you ever tried an act of faith?
That's good. That's good.
Have you ever tried to do something that only could be done with God? Right? You're trying to.
So what you're saying, what you pointed out, what those scriptures point out, and you're bringing to our attention, because I want to make it plain that you found this in the Bible. Like this is, and this is why, because I'm imagining the people who disqualify themselves because they've received this idea that in order to be used by God, I have to be a certain way, and they think about their character changing and habits changing and that type of thing, which then takes time. So they never really get started being used by God because now they've projected this idea that I have to be a certain way off to some future time. It takes time to develop into this person or whatever.
And what I found is that first of all, we did this was last year, but God is the mastermind.
Yeah.
God is the mastermind, right? And I'm just going to do this in like a little example, right? Oftentimes with Amber, right, when we are training her up as we should, when the training is unattached, when it's unattached for something she understands, or when it's unattached from something she's doing, it almost goes as if it has no value, right? It's like if the training is in line with something that she desires, something she wants, or something she's pursuing, like the training takes hold. Yeah. I just noticed it. It's just like, hey, Amber, if just give an example, right? If it's like she's doing gymnastics right now, and sometimes we'll be like, Amber, pay attention, right? And she'll be like, okay. But when we say, hey, Amber, gymnasts pay attention. Immediately, because she sees what is being told to her attached to something that she's desiring or progressing in her life, like the development of her behavior and her character now has weight and value. And what I'm seeing here and what I'm trying to say to people, right, there's a direct correlation in our pursuit of what God's calling us to do and our valuing of the discipline he's calling us to, right? It's like God knows how to work them both together good.
Yeah.
To where like he's like, no, I do need your character to be ordered. Oh, I do need this. But when you have that unattached, right? When you're just doing with it without, how he was saying, when you're doing it without expectation, when you think that God's not trying to get you somewhere, right? That you're just circling the wagons, right? You know, it can a lot of times fall on I'll say it like this, it can fall on a hard soil.
Right.
Right. But when discipline hits the soil of expectation, right, it flourishes. Right. It flourishes. And so absolutely right. It's like his act of faith, right? It drew a sharp line. Like it was twofold. And so yeah, that's how I would put that, right? Right. You know, yeah.
That's good. That's good. I'm gonna circle back to some points that you made there. Well, I'm gonna circle back to this point.
The point I like most, right? When discipline hits the soil of expectation,
caught that.
it takes root.
Yeah, that's good. Hold on.
That's a whole. I don't need to put
That's
that in
good
the
one.
message.
Somebody,
Preach a whole message, right?
y'all caught that? You got that? Okay. All right.
Man.
All right. Just going back to what you're saying about faith. What caught God's attention was this person moved because they believe me. This person,
Absolutely.
out of all these people,
Absolutely.
this person is doing what they're doing because they trust me.
Yeah.
And I just want to like really paint that picture for the person who is seeing that they have to wait for some distant thing to happen before they qualify to be used by God. And what you're saying is that not just do you trust him, like right now.
Oh, absolutely. Right. We already know there's only one that was perfect.
That's good.
So when we say he found favor, it wasn't a response to his perfection. There was only one that was perfect. That was Jesus. And so it does, right? It makes you have to dive deeper and say, well, if we know that there was only one that was found perfect,
That's good.
but yet we know Noah was found favorable, it means that favor isn't a response to my perfection
There we go.
because there was only one who was perfect.
Yeah.
So what was qualified when he said favor? What did he find? I'm gonna say this: dependency. He found dependency. Someone who did not think without God I could be anything.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
You know, he found someone who was understood wholeheartedly that if I don't obey God, then I don't know what could happen. Right, and that in turn made him disciplined about something he couldn't see yet he heard.
Yeah.
Because of his valuing of God, his dependency on God. He found someone who refused to live anything or any other type of life that wasn't wholeheartedly dependent upon God, right? Which is, we didn't get there yet. I'm going through characteristics of a contender. But
Okay.
that's a leak that ain't gonna be visited for a little bit, but it's right there.
Right.
Noah was a contender.
Yeah.
And a characteristic of a contender, someone who's contending for the faith, is someone who has 100% dependency and reliance on God for what they need. And that's how you can see him respond to what God said, although he didn't see a thing that God had said. Right?
Yeah. How do you see Noah get into that place where he is dependent? Is it because of he
That's
just
good.
walks to this place
Right.
that he the only way that I see my family being blessed is if we do it God's way. That sounds, that sounds like the Band-Aid statement. But how did Noah get to this place where he's this dependent upon?
And I think the best way, right, for me to respond to that is everyone has their own way. Like everyone has their path from where God's walking them down, maturing them to that point. I've seen some people get to that moment after great loss. It took them hitting. I love my dad used to say, like, you hit rock bottom, but then some people start digging holes and going deeper. But some people, that is their moment. They hit rock bottom. Every way they tried to work in their own strength and knowledge failed. And in response, it was like, you know what? Here I am.
Yeah.
Right. But I've seen people also on mountaintop moments where they reflect back. And that's why I say always reflect back
Right.
on the mountaintop. Because in my time, when I reflect back on my mountaintops, when I look back over moments that were absolutely unbelievably God moments, I'll look back and reflect and realize everything wasn't perfect, yet it happened.
It happened. Right.
And that lets me know that it had to be God.
That's right.
Because it wasn't perfect.
Right.
Things weren't together. People were complaining. People were doing this. Some were in, some were out. Yet and still it got done. That lets me know it was God. But some people only reflect at the bottom.
Right.
And that's why they have to wait for rock bottom. You ain't got to wait for rock bottom. You can be on the mountaintop. And on that mountaintop realize, man, I wasn't perfect, but yeah, here I am. It had to be God.
Yeah.
And your dependency on God continues to grow. But I believe it's that, right? I believe everybody has a personal walk that God is walking them down that will continue to put them in a position to where they are developing absolute 100 dependency on Him.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Over the last few weeks in different conversations, maybe I think I heard this on a Sunday from you also. You mentioned focus, like, and so we know Noah was extremely focused,
Yeah.
and we could then imagine how his focus kept him from quitting, right? As things are still happening around him. You think what led Noah to be have that type of focus, and how can we benefit from just being like focused in on what it is that God is, or maybe just God, like not even talking about what He is, what He wants us to do, but just being focused on God.
Yeah, I think it's I'm gonna say this in like a basic word. I think you develop a respect, right? I think a lot of people, and this may sound rough, I don't know if they develop that level of respect for God. You know, I think that, you know, Noah had an incredible level of respect for God. You know, and he saw God as all things. And so he lived in response to that. And I know people verbally will tell you that they see God that way, but we all know in act they don't walk that way. And so I would say in a very basic way, he respected God. You know, he had a respect of who God is, and because of that respect, it was like, no, if he said it, I have to do it. And because I don't see anything else. He's developed a respect, right? But I also point this out, right? And this is also another little wrinkle, right? Because once again, not pointing even Noah out as perfect. At the end of all of this, it says that Noah grew in intimacy as a result of the flood. So there was still room for Noah to grow.
Right.
So it wasn't like Noah was once again, it wasn't like he was perfect in intimacy. But I believe that he had a respect, he had a dependency, he had some key characteristics that dictated his response that in that moment. And I believe that that's something that, you know, is most definitely we have to
That's good.
it's almost like a self-analyzing moment.
Yeah.
You know, you can say that you see God as all things, but do your actions actually follow that? Will you embrace what you don't understand because you understand He'll be with you? Will you embrace what's unfamiliar to you because He said that I know the number of hairs on your head and I'm watching over you? Will you embrace what you don't see will provide for you because He said He's your provider?
Right.
Like, will you pursue something that you can't see the financial benefit because He said He's your financier? Like, will you do it though?
Right.
I know you'll say it,
Right.
but Noah did it.
Yeah. And will you pursue something that's bigger than you? Meaning this.
Yeah.
I think Noah was motivated not just because building the ark wasn't his rescue. It wasn't just his lifeboat. He could have built just a life raft for himself.
Yeah.
But he built an ark. And the initial idea that he was given was anybody who wants to come in here can be saved.
Yeah.
right? I mean, it dwindled down over time to just being his family. But Noah did something that didn't just save him. He saw himself doing something that was much bigger than himself.
Yeah.
I think that having, or are we willing, will we be willing to do something that doesn't directly benefit us, but it lives beyond us? It
Yeah.
has to be a condition.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. And I believe Noah, the best thing we can see Noah as is a vessel ready to be filled. You know,
good.
he's just was a vessel ready to be filled, and I believe that's more of when you were saying. So what is somebody having to do, right? What are we having to do, knowing that our character is forever developing, our integrity is forever developing. I do believe there's something that is an absolute requirement, though. You're a willing vessel.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that, there's things that'll be developed, but I believe there's something that is qualifying you, and that's a willing vessel. You know, something that is, you know, willing to be filled with whatever God fills them with, right? But I like to say it like this, though, right? You know, Paul talked about it, right? Paul talked about believing him for the word, right? And understanding that, man, I'm just being filled.
Right.
And one of those incredible things about being a vessel is depending on what the people need determines what your feeling is. And so you can't even, a willing vessel doesn't even seek their value in what's being dispensed from them.
That's good.
Right? Because whatever I'm dispensing is just a result of what people needed. Right? I'll just get filled, right? Sometimes people need water and people don't celebrate water, right? But then sometimes people, they can get some Kool-Aid and people celebrate Kool-Aid, right? But then once again, you might just be some water another day. You're just being filled, right? And so, but that mindset is what becomes a vessel. And it's almost like, you know, to everybody that day, wasn't nothing attractive about an ark,
Right.
but it's what he was filled with.
Yeah.
And that's how, right, no one was buying in, you know, and I mean, at least, you know, if someone says that they're building something for the saving of you, right, and they ain't ask you for no money, I don't know why you would even oppose it.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
Like,
You
well,
look
I
curious.
guess-
Look interesting.
I mean, well, hey, you know what I'm saying? I'm glad I got space reserved.
Yeah.
Right? But there was opposition to Moses, which is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
he doing his thing. Like, why would you be mad at him, right?
That's
But,
Right.
anyway.
So when I think about that term willing vessel,
Yeah.
I think about people who have their place of satisfaction is different from everybody else's. You know, like their motivation or what they got their prize like
Willing
earlier.
vessels are already satisfied.
There you go. Right. That's good.
They're the type that sincerely mean, God, you've done enough.
Yeah.
Use me.
Right.
Use me. Like willing vessels are already satisfied.
Right.
Willing vessels have they seek nothing, right? They present their body as a living sacrifice. That willing vessels, like they're some of the most.
I was good at go.
They were good at go.
I was good at
They
go.
they are some of the most peaceful people to be around. You know, they seek to give the advantage, not take the advantage. It's like when you talk to them, there's just a purity about their words and their ways, right? There's just no hidden agendas. They have nothing left to do but to see God be glorified. And in whatever way he wants to do that through them, that's his choosing. A willing vessel lives as though they've already been rewarded with heaven.
That's good.
A willing vessel, right? There's special people. God, you know, he says like the harvest are plenty, but the laborers are few, right? You know, there's a lot of people that would do something for God. I don't know. There's a lot of people that are willing to just be here for God. You know, they'll do a thing or two, but to present their whole body as a living sacrifice. We went over this a couple weeks ago.
I was
There's
expecting to get
there's
somebody.
levels to this,
Somebody was going to yell, rewind that, or bring
right?
that back.
There's
So,
levels to this, right? We talked about that before.
yes, well, hold on.
Okay.
Because you said, a willing vessel is beyond just somebody who's willing to do something for God. A willing vessel is present to
Be here
for God. That's good. That was good. Make sure to get it. Like,
Right.
retype that in the chat, put some emojis by it so everybody knows that was like an important point. Like, that's
Right. So, and we talked about, right, the 4 levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, level number 1, you got saved. That is everything.
right.
Level number 2, you're willing to adjust your character, habits, and your ways so that you can reflect. Like, then you get on to level number 3, which is, man, like, God, like, I put down my occupation and I pick up your will, right?
Yeah.
Like there's levels to this, right? But you know that is where that is.
That's
where there's a lot of people, and God's not mad because you just want to do something for Him. But then there's people that you're walking to and talking to. They have converted and they want to be here for Him. And you'll see some people ain't the same. Like some people you know last month ain't the same. Some people that you currently around right now, through the result of this message, they're gonna be different next week.
That's right.
Right? Because they've transitioned from, man, I don't want to do something for God. I want to be here for God.
That's good.
Right?
That's
Yeah. I've changed.
That's good.
I've converted. I've upgraded.
That was good. That's good. I mean, that point right there is worth the 20 minutes of sitting down and listening to this message and re-listening to it and sharing it. That was a good point.
I don't know if any of that was in the message, but we did a deeper dive.
Yes, it's Thursday.
Amen.
Amen. So just, as we wrap up this morning's session, is there a point that you just want to?
I have a point.
Yes, sir.
Go look at the app and get the notes from Sunday.
Boom. Yep. Sermon notes are available.
So that when we hit the ground on Sunday, we not recapping, we just building.
There you go.
Right? Just go in there, dive in there, become the message so that when we get here on Sunday, we can just keep on going. We don't
Okay.
have to recap.
That's
right?
it. That's an instruction. So on Sunday, we'll know.
Sunday we'll know.
Yeah, we'll know if you went back and you did that. Do that for us and know that we love you. We look forward to seeing you this weekend. Big expectations.
Yeah.
And until then, you be blessed. See you soon.